Hi there. I'm Caleb Jones. This is Unchained CEO, location independent income through your own location independent laptop based business that sets you free from your corporate BS 9 to 5 job or your gigs. Moving to a less bad country, or at least setting up an international backup plan and doing all these things for very little money. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important topics I can talk about, and that is how to select a country for you. There's about 195 countries in the world. How do you pick one that you'll like? What if you don't like it? What if this? What if that? It's very confusing. Lots of variables. I'm going to show you exactly step by step how to pick the best country for you, not your Andrew Tate, not me, not your dad, not your brother, not your best friend. You, best country for you in this presentation. Normally, what I've been doing the last several weeks, these live stream podcasts, I've been answering questions for the first 10 minutes. Then I get into the topic, and then I answer more questions. I'm not going to do that anymore. Instead, I'm going to get right into the topic, and I'll save all the questions for the end. So if you have questions that come up in the chat, I will rewind when I'm done with the topic, and I will answer your questions then. So I'm going to get right to the topic right now. These live streams are getting a little long, and I'm getting a little busy. We got to shorten these live streams a little bit. So there we go. As you can see today, if you watch the video, we have slides. You guys like slides. This is also a podcast. If you prefer the audio version of this, you go to calebjones.com/podcast. And I'm on all the usual podcast platforms. Caleb, if you didn't know, is C-A-L-E-B as in boy. I've been very good at spelling that name because it's a weird name. A lot of people don't know the word name Caleb. They're like, what? Why can't your name just be something like Steve or Bob or Matthew or something like that? Because my mom was a Catholic nun. That's why. It's a true story. All right. How do we find the best country for you? And specifically, this is a country that you're going to utilize as a living flag. Now, I have an entire YouTube video on the different types of flags. You can have an economic flag, a vacation flag, a backup flag, a residency flag, a living flag, a dating flag. Flag doesn't mean you live there. Flag means you utilize that country for a particular purpose in your life. So today, specifically, I'm going to talk about you as finding a best country for you as a living flag. You can also utilize this as a backup plan, international backup plan, where if you're to set up an international backup plan and then later you decide to move there. One of the best ways to do this, if you're not ready to leave the collapsing West now, and you should, I don't know why you're still there, but okay, is you set up an international backup plan now so you have somewhere to go if and when your Western country collapses, which it will in your lifetime, especially if it's the collapsing trifecta, which is the United States, Canada, or Western Europe. Eastern Europe is also going to collapse, but just not as fast and not as hard. You can set up an international backup plan somewhere else in the world so you have somewhere to go. And then later when you're ready in a few years or whatever you got to get the stuff, whatever stuff you got to get done before you move, you just move there and it's easy because you already set up residency, bank accounts, and all that good stuff there. So you can do that. So you can visualize this as a living flag, somewhere to live, or spend several months a year in a place you like a lot. Okay. You can also use these as, if it's a living flag or a backup flag, you can also use it as an economic flag if you want. You can also use it as a dating flag if you're a single guy, whatever. But this is primarily a place where you're going to live or spend significant amounts of time in, several months a year. If this was a presentation on the best country to house your international corporation, very different topic. This is about where to live or spend a lot of time in a place you like. Okay. How do you find a living flag that works for you? And the objections are all the usual ones, which I've addressed in many videos. Like, oh my God, there's so many options. This is so complicated. There's 195 countries on planet Earth. How do I know I'm finding the best one for me? There's so many choices. What if I choose the wrong one? Or no country is as good as mine. This is an epidemic, especially in many Western countries. Americans, the two worst people, by the way, for this, my country is the best in the world, are Americans and Scandinavians. For some reason, well, not for some reason, for certain cultural reasons, Americans and Scandinavians think their countries are the best in the world. And because I statistically happen to have been born here, this is the best country in the world because I happen to have been born here. No, I agree America was the best country in the world for a very long time. America was, not now, was the greatest country in the history of the world. Not anymore. And that hasn't been true for a good 20 years. Well before wokeism, well before Obama, well before Trump, all this stuff. This goes back to, 9/11, George W. Bush is when America stopped being the best country in the world. Other things like, but it's dangerous. A lot of, again, Americans, unfortunately, it's Americans again. Oh my God, the whole world is dangerous except America. Every country outside of America is dangerous. You might get killed or robbed or kidnapped or raped, or you might get malaria, or you might get dengue fever, or I have to stay in America or Canada or the UK or Australia, but usually it's Americans. I have to stay here because the entire rest of the planet is a zone of death. And I will die if I leave the United States. So we're going to address those things too. All these irrational fears that you have from your cultural Western societal programming. Now, here's the big thing. And I've mentioned this before. When you look around on the internet for places to move to, or cool places to hang out, or places to hang out several months a year, you're going to get other people's opinions. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but here's the problem. For example, if you look around the internet for a cool place to move to, 3 or 4 or 5 places you're going to hear of a lot. You're going to hear a lot about Medellin, Colombia, right? You've heard about that 10 billion times. You're going to hear a lot about Chiang Mai, Thailand. You're going to hear a lot about Bali, right? You're going to hear a lot about these 3, 4, 5 places. In some cases, you're going to hear about Dubai if you're in the business sector, like if you're kind of in a business lifestyle like me. You're going to hear about these 4 or 5, 6 places. Now, all those places I just listed are great. I have no problems with any of those places. But they may not be the best for you. They're the best for the people who live there and like it. And the people who live there and like it might be a different age than you, could be a different gender than you, could have kids or not have kids, and you have kids or don't have kids, could be a different personality type from you, could have different objectives than you, could have different income than you, different business structures than you, different tastes in weather than you, different tastes in women if you're single than you. Okay? This is why I have been very careful since I moved to Dubai almost 4 years ago. I have never said, and if you think I have, go back and watch my videos or read my blogs. I have never said Dubai is the best place in the world. You should move here. I've never said that. I said Dubai is the best place in the world for me and for some of you. Some of you would hate Dubai in my audience. A lot of you in my audience would like Dubai more than me. I've encountered both. People who've come here to Dubai for our events here. I've had people go, holy shit, this is the best place in the world. They like it more than I do, and they move here immediately. 2 more last month. And some people come here and go, yeah, this is cool, but it's really not my thing. So I've never said, move to Dubai, everybody. I've said, some of you should move to Dubai. Some of you should check it out. You might not like it. I've said the same thing about my other living flag, Paraguay. I've never said Paraguay is awesome. Everyone in the world should move to Paraguay. Never said that. I said there's a percentage of people where Paraguay is fucking amazing. Billy, when she first came to Paraguay, she had no idea what to expect. She completely fell in love with it because she likes it. I like it too. There are some of you who would hate Paraguay. And we're going to talk about that. And there are some of you who would like Paraguay more than me. So be aware that these places you hear about on the internet may be great for the people that were recommending them. They may or may not be great for you. I'm not saying they're not great for you. They might be good. I just saw in the chat here, Philippines, another one. That's another big one people recommend. Philippines is great. Some of you would hate Philippines. Some of you would love the Philippines. A lot of buddies in the Philippines. So be aware, you can take this information in, but you have to process it through your lifestyle, your age, your personality type, your family situation, your income, and your goals. Not just people saying, this place is awesome. That's irrational. It's awesome for them. If you're a man who's 57 years old, let's say you're a 57-year-old high-income introvert, and you're on the internet and you hear from a bunch of 27-year-old extroverts that, the best place in the world is Sao Paulo, Brazil. Does that mean you'll like Sao Paulo, Brazil? Maybe, but maybe not. So you have to, I'm not saying don't listen to these sources. You should listen to these sources and listen to the things they say about the place. And then you filter it through your needs and who you are. Okay, this is, again, I'm about rationality and objectivity. Not this one country is the best country in the world. No, it's not. Depends on what your priorities are. For some people, it is the best country in the world. Dubai and Paraguay are the two countries where I live. Dubai and Paraguay are the best countries in the world for some people. And I mean that literally. Paraguay and Dubai in particular, they're amazing places for some people, maybe even most people between those two countries. They're very different, but not for everybody. Okay. So don't just say, I better move to Medellin, Colombia, because I've heard so many people on forums say it's great and the girls are pretty. You need way more data than that. Definitely check it out and go move and go there for a week and see if you like it. Sure. But don't just assume, well, I heard a lot about it, so I'm going to move there. Even if it's Panama, even if it's Bali, even if it's Thailand, even if it's Philippines, even if it's Dubai, even if it's Singapore, even if it's Hong Kong, these places are all great. But you have a specific set of parameters and tastes that don't match other people. You're unique. You're unique, my old friend used to say. Your priorities and other people's priorities, what that slide says. Okay. So what is your situation? You start with you and what your current situation is right now. You start there. I'm going to get very specific about this. Your age. When you're 26, you want a certain set of things for your life, don't you? When you're 57 or 45 or 62, those are different things than when you're 26, right? Right. So Paraguay, for example, is pretty boring. So if you're a young, excited 26-year-old, I get these comments all the time. Hey, Caleb, these young guys. Hey, Caleb, when I go to Paraguay, where are the best clubs and bars to hang out and party? None. That's not what Paraguay's for. Yes, there are bars and clubs in Paraguay, but that's not what it's for. Paraguay is very sleepy and boring. You want to go to Brazil. You want to go to Colombia. You don't want to go to Paraguay. Now, if you are 48 and you've been and done that, you're married or have kids or whatever, you probably want somewhere nice and quiet. Paraguay would be great for you. Low cost, raise a family, great. So how old are you and what do you want based on your age? Very important. Gender. The vast majority of you in this audience and the vast majority of people interested in these topics tend to be men. So most of you are men, but there are some of you who are women. And as a woman, you're going to want different things than dudes, aren't you? A 32-year-old woman moving out of the country is going to have a very different set of priorities than a 32-year-old man moving out of the country, aren't you? So you got to factor that in there. Marital and relationship status. So let's say you're a 35-year-old guy. You're totally single. Totally single, okay? Now let's say you're a 35-year-old guy. You're married. You have 2 kids. Whole different set of needs, don't you? From the 35-year-old guy who is single. Or let's say you're a 35-year-old guy, you have a really serious girlfriend that you don't live with. That's a third set of scenarios. You got to factor all this in there. I had to make the decision many years ago, do I move abroad? This is when I was single, okay? Not single. This is when I wasn't married. Do I move abroad and then, because I knew I wanted to settle down someday with a wife, do I find a wife abroad or do I marry a woman in the United States and then take her with me? So I had to go through all these processes. I chose the latter. So you got to figure that out too. And again, if you are married with 2 kids, do you want to take the advice of a bunch of guys or young guys who aren't married? No. And the reverse. If you're a guy, if you're 35 and you're single, do you want to take the advice of guys who are like, have traditional marriages with 3 kids and they're really into the schools? And no, you have a whole different set of priorities, don't you? Okay. Let me see. Hang on. Is there a kid one? Yeah, there is. Okay. Dating goals, if any, if you are single and or like me, you are non-monogamous. Do you have dating goals? If you're married and monogamous and a long-term committed monogamous, you don't have any dating objectives. So does it matter? Does the dating scene matter to you? Like Dubai is one of the harder places to date unless you're doing hardcore sugar daddy stuff. So, but if you're married and you have 2 little kids, you want a great place to raise kids, Dubai is one of the best places in the world you can live. It doesn't matter what the dating objectives are. Now, if you're young and you're single and you're extroverted and one of your primary objectives is to meet girls abroad, whole different scenario, is it? So you want to move somewhere where the dating environment is good. So what are your dating objectives? If you follow Alpha Male 2.0, FBs, MLTRs, what do you want? What do you have? Figure those out. Because that's a big influencer on where you'll move to. There are places with great dating markets. There are places where it's horrible to date. You need to factor this. If it, again, is a factor to you, it may not be. This one's huge. Do you have kids? And most people say, I don't have kids. I don't care. Wait a second. Do you have kids? No. Okay. If you don't have kids, are you ever going to have kids? And if so, when? Yeah, you got to factor that in there. So you're going to move to like a hardcore party place when you're planning on having kids in 3 years? Then if that's the scenario, you may have to move again in 3 years to have kids somewhere else. Right? So if you're going to go to, if you move to Rio, would I raise children in Rio, Brazil? I would not. If I was a young single guy, just want to get laid, but I go to Rio? Sure. You see the difference? Now, if I was, let's say, a guy in my 30s, so a lot of you in your 30s. So some of you are under the age of 30. You don't have any kids. You're not even thinking about having kids. Kids, well, that's later. I don't give a shit. Great. Some of you are my age. You have kids who are small, or you've already had your kids and you're not having any more. Great. But a lot of you in your 30s, which means you don't have kids yet, but you're gonna soon. You got to think that shit through. Where do you want to live knowing you're going to have kids the next 5 years? Side point, and this is a topic for my other channel. I've said this 10,000 times in my blogs, my books. If you're a man and you're over the age of 30, God, over the age of 27, and I ask you, do you want kids? If you go, that's a problem. You need to know exactly yes, no, and if yes, how many and when. You need to know this shit. If you don't know, you're in big trouble. Topic for my other channel. Big trouble. Income, how much money do you make? So if you make a lot of money, do you give a shit about the cost of living where you're moving? Probably not. If you're very poor, you make $1,000 a month. You're one of these like backpacker type dudes, and you make location dependent income, but you make like $2,000 a month, $1,500 a month. Cost of living is a big factor for you, isn't it? Chiang Mai starts looking really good, whereas Dubai, you're like, probably not. If you make a 6-figure income, 7-figure income, now places like Dubai, Singapore, Monaco look pretty damn good because there's cost of living is higher, but there's zero taxes. You're like, oh, okay. So that's a factor. Income, how much money do you make? Assuming, again, you have location-dependent income, which is our next one. Do you have your own business? If you have your own business, are you location-independent or not? Do you have a 9-to-5 job? Well, if you have a 9-to-5 job, you probably can't leave your country yet, can you? Unless you just quit. Well, can I quit? I don't know. How much money in savings do you have? So you have to factor all these factors in. Ideally, in the Unchained CEO world, you have a location-independent business where you make at least $7,000 a month. That is the Unchained CEO and Alpha Male 2.0 minimum income for your location-independent business. If you do not have location-independent income yet, where it's at least $7,000 USD a month or the equivalent, you're not there yet. You have more work to do. Get your ass to work. You're already behind schedule, folks. Get on this shit. Get on it. What are you doing? Net worth. Less important, but still of importance. If you have a $10 million net worth, I just got off the phone with a guy who's selling his company. He's going to get $50 million in about 2 years. Okay, if you got $50 million, you can probably go anywhere you want, right? And it doesn't really matter about how much it costs or, right? If you have no money in the bank, you have no net worth, you got, $8,000 in savings, okay? That's another factor. And that's all you've got. You got a bunch of debt. Factor that out. Figure it out. This is a big one. Flexibility. I've talked about this many times. I talked about several years ago how we have entered into a dark age. It's going to last about 20 or 30 years, and we already have. We did it several years ago, and it's going to get worse. And so I said back then, and I'm right, that the two people who will survive and thrive through this dark age, it is a culture, it's not a technological dark age. The technology will improve. It is a political, cultural, and economic dark age. And the only people who will survive and thrive through this dark age are going to be two types of people. One, people who are rich, which means you have a net worth of more than $10 million. If you've got millions of dollars, you have 100 million, you'll be okay no matter what happens. So if you're rich, great. The second category of person will be those who are what I call hyper flexible. You are flexible. You are happy no matter what your living conditions are. This is how I am. If I live in a 5-bedroom house that's $10,000 a month in a gated community in Dubai, which I just lived in for over a year with my wife, I was very happy. Today, I live in a small 1-bedroom apartment, and she's back in the United States. Still very happy. I showed a video of my small 1-bedroom apartment in Paraguay. Very happy. Now, if you go, well, I would never live in an apartment that small, or if I take videos around Paraguay and you see like broken sidewalks and a little bit of trash, well, I would never live there. Okay, that means you are less flexible, which is fine. Better to be more flexible, but you're not. So, okay, you need to factor that in. You should probably move somewhere that is very Western-like. Outside of the West, but very Western-like. That's a little more clean, a little more first world. If you don't give a fuck, if you're happy no matter what, great. It opens up many more options for you. Flexibility equals options. If you're very narrow and not flexible, it really narrows your options. If you're completely flexible, you're happy no matter what, great. I mean, I live in Dubai and I live in Paraguay. You can't get more opposite than that. And I love both of them because I'm very flexible in terms of life, how lifestyle makes me happy. Now, to be fair, I live a really, really, really good life. So I have a lot more things in my life that are really awesome, despite the fact that I live in a small apartment. I mean, my life is good. So maybe I'm not comparing apples to apples when I use myself as a comparison, but you get my point. I know guys who are perfectly happy. They sleep on their buddy's couch down at the beach and they surf all day, and they have no money, and because they're very flexible. And then I know people who are like, ooh, gross. Ew, I would never move there. It's gross. Ew, I have to have a Target and a mall, and I have to have DoorDash and this, or this is disgusting. Well, then you have less options. But you need to factor that in terms of your personality type, how flexible or inflexible you are. Extended family situation. So, do you have an old mother who needs to be taken care of, and your siblings are all dead or they're a-holes, or you don't have siblings? That kind of scenario. Do you have a special needs relative? Do you have, whatever? Are your relatives wealthy and you're going to inherit a bunch of mountain of money in a year? Okay, that. So you need to factor all that shit in there too. It's not just do you have kids. What is your extended family? Now, most people have what I would consider a normal extended family. You have a normal mom and or a normal dad. They're not like, all fucked up and you have to take care of them. They're okay. I'm lucky in that I have parents they're in their 80s. I'm about to go see them next week. They're fine. Financially, they're okay. I need to, and they're not handicapped or that stuff. Can you say handicapped? I'm going to say handicapped. Now, that's your scenario. Now we need to shift gears. Once you go through those things, and you map out your priorities, which is different than your scenario. So scenario is what you have. Priorities is what's important to you and what you want. There's a difference. So in all the benefits of a possible country, I'm going to list a whole bunch of benefits. You need to figure out and rank these on what is most important for you, not for me, not for your friends, not for people on the internet, you. Not for your favorite Instagram influencer, you. You got to be selfish about this. Top on the list, lower cost of living. Is that a priority for you, or do you not give a shit based on what we talked about? Some people, it's very compelling. And as a guy who spends 4 or 5 months a year in Paraguay, it's pretty fucking great to live in a place that's 1/8 the cost of the Western world. It's so relaxing. It's nice. Now, I live in Dubai the rest of the year, which is not cheap, but it's not expensive. One of my friends here in Dubai just got back from Germany. And she was saying, my God, it's so much more expensive in Germany. Even though she lived there. She's German. Like, oh my God, I forget. Then she went to New York. She's like, oh my God, it's way more expensive than Dubai. Germany, UK, France, Sydney, Australia, Tokyo, not Tokyo. In aspects of Tokyo, New York, Chicago, LA, these are all way more expensive than Dubai. So Dubai is on the mid-range of cost of living. Paraguay is at the very bottom, very low. To get lower than Paraguay, you have to go to like Africa or something. So is that important to you? If that's a priority based on your income and net worth, is that a priority? Are you willing to give up other things, other aspects to have a really low cost of living? Or you're like, nah, not really. How important is that to you? Lifestyle. So that's really quality of life and weather. Some people don't give a shit about weather. Some people are super inflexible about weather. They have to have it sunny 12 months a year, or they freak. If there's any rain, they go, they freak out. They lose their shit. Or if it snows a little bit, I hate snow, and they freak out. Some people don't give a fuck about the weather. Some people are in between. I'm a little more flexible. I tend to like, so here's myself as an example again. I grew up in the Portland, Oregon area when Portland was a beautiful city. Now it's a shithole, but most of my life it was a beautiful city. But the problem with living in the Pacific Northwest is it's like living in London. It rains and it's cloudy like 9 months out of the year. So because I've lived in that environment for like the first 45 years of my life, I'm in my 50s now, I like the sun. The sun makes me happy. The sun when it's not hot. I don't like heat either. And I don't like humidity. Humidity is a big one too. Can you handle humidity or not? I can handle some. Some people can't handle any. Some people can handle a lot. How important is it? Weather is an important factor where you decide where to live. Trust me. And people get burned by this. I've seen a lot of people move to a country or even to another part of their country, like the United States, if it's a big country like Canada or whatever, and they move to another city, they love it. And then summer comes and like, oh my God, this is way too hot. Or winter comes, oh my God, this sucks. So you have to focus on that. How important is that to you? There are millions of complete psychotic maniacs who still live in the state of California. Jesus. And when you say, why the fuck do you live in California? They say, because the weather. So it's so important to them. The weather is so important to these people. They'll pay the highest taxes in the world, the worst infrastructure in the world, the highest cost, the highest crime in the world, the most homeless in the world, because it's sunny. As if California is the only sunny place on earth. But you get my point. Taxes. How important is taxes to you? Now, for me, that was number one at the top of the list. For me. You may not give a shit about taxes. You may care a lot about taxes. This goes back to how much money you make, doesn't it? Something else about taxes, by the way. It's not just about how much money you make now. It's how much money you plan to make in the next 5 years. So I got all my 5 flags stuff done in 2021 in anticipation of things that are now happening in my life now in 2024/2025. I didn't want to make a big mountain of money and then figure out my 5 flags on my taxes. I want to get all this shit ready to go first. So when the money came in, it's smooth sailing. So some of you are self-employed. I've spoken to many of you. Some of you have your own businesses. You're making decent money. You're about to make a lot more money and you know it. Next 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to really jack up your income. That's a factor. You need to factor that. You don't want to move somewhere, double, triple your income. It's happened to many of you. And you're like, oh shit. Now you kick into some tax bracket where you live and you got to move again. So it's not just about how much money you make now. How much money do you plan to make in the next 5 years? Okay. For those of you who are concerned about taxes, some of you don't give a rat's ass about taxes. You do not care about that at all. My dad was self-employed for most of his life, and he made a low 6-figure income once I moved out of the home and I was an adult. Eventually, he started out with no money, but eventually got there. But for the entire time he was making a 6-figure income, about 15 years in his later years, he didn't do any tax stuff at all. He paid 50% of his paycheck in taxes. And I'm like, why are you, Dad? And I'm a libertarian. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you paying half your taxes? Oh, I don't care. Okay, great. He's like, well, I want to be a patriotic American and pay my taxes. Oh, you're insane, Dad. I love you, but you've lost your mind. Business, next one. Next priority. Is this a priority? Business environment. Making more money. Investment opportunities. Being in a hustle culture or not. So this is where Dubai and Paraguay, in my example, are the opposite. Paraguay is South America. Very sleepy, relaxed. Not a lot of motivated people in Latin America. Those of you who live in Latin America, you don't have to talk about it. Not a lot of super motivated people. Dubai is the polar opposite. Everybody here is a hustler. Everybody here, other than the Instagram girls and the hot girls. The men here, and a lot of the women here too, they hustle, they grind, they run companies, they build companies. That's what Dubai is. That's why I like it. Because that's my world, is hustle and business builders. Love it. So is that important to you? Now, maybe that turns you off. Great. If it turns you off, go somewhere sleepy. If it gets you excited, ramps you up, come to Dubai, Singapore, now Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Riyadh, not the whole country, Riyadh. Business sectors, anywhere in Southeast Asia. Okay, Vietnam. Yeah. If that's important to you. Investing too. I can talk about investing. Those of you have higher net worth, investing opportunities in that region if you want. Next one, being part of a growing economy. This is a thing for me. A lot of people don't care. I like to be in countries that are going somewhere. It's an emotional thing for me. So I'm in Dubai and Paraguay, two very rapidly growing countries for very different reasons, very different scenarios. It drove me crazy to be in the United States and be in this stagnating, collapsing country that got worse and worse every year. And I watch it get worse and worse every year. It drove me crazy emotionally. I didn't like it. Some people don't mind. Great. Some people, I've had a handful of people who say they prefer to be in collapsing countries because they like the chaos and they can find, I don't know, I forget the arguments they use, but whatever. So is that important to you, or does it not matter to you at all? People. And I'm going to categorize 5 countries in 5 different levels in a few minutes here. Nicer people, less stressed out people, or more hustle people? What kind of people do you like? And I'm not talking about women in dating. I'm talking about people in your environment, in your neighborhood. What kind of people do you like to be around? One of the big reasons I left the collapsing USA, everybody in the USA is pissed all the time. Everyone is all mad all the time. They're all mad all the time. It's one of the few countries in the world like this. You go to any country, people are happy. United States, everyone's pissed off. I couldn't stand it because I'm a happy guy. I live a good life. So I want to live somewhere where people are happy. And in Dubai, people are happy. And in Paraguay, people are mostly happy. Way happier in the United States. Not even close. It's great. So I like that. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're a super shut-in introvert and you're home all day and you don't care about people. Great, that's fine. That's okay. Dating opportunities. We talked about this earlier. So dating opportunities. What types of women? So let me talk about the dating opportunities. Do I have another slide on this? I might be jumping ahead, and I'm not going to answer questions about dating on this live stream because I do that on another channel. But just to cover the overview basics, because I know most of you are men and a lot of you are single. There's 2 factors in terms of dating opportunities for other countries you need to consider. One is how easy dating is in that country. There are some places, some countries where dating is so easy, you will not believe it. The Philippines. There are other places where dating is extremely difficult. Taiwan. So it depends, and those are both in Asia, aren't they? So you can't just say Asia is easy. Some are easy and some are nightmare hard. Some of them are easier in the West, like Latin America, but not super easy. So there's ease of dating, ease of finding, and it's ease of, what are your objectives? Do you just want to play around and get laid, or do you want to find you a wife? Those are slightly different objectives, aren't they? So you're looking at slightly different countries. So that's factor 1 is how easy the dating market is that country, okay? The second one is the type of women or the type of men if you're a woman. Most of you are men, so I'm going to assume you're a man. But if you're a woman, just change the gender when I'm saying this. The type of woman there. Now, we're all men. We all have certain types. We all have a type we like, right? Right. You know your type. Everyone has a different type. Some guys like dark-skinned women. Some guys like white girls. Some guys love Latinas. Some guys like Asians. Some guys need their women to be white. Whatever, okay? So you have your type. So is the women in the place you're looking at your type? Now, if you are not experienced internationally, this is going to be news to you. You can't just say Latina women, for example. Women in Paraguay look absolutely nothing like women in Mexico, but they're both Latinas. They look nothing like each other. And women in Argentina look nothing like either of those two. And women in Brazil look nothing like those 3. And women in Colombia don't look anything like women in Mexico. They don't, right? Or the Chileans, or it's totally different. So you got to be a little more specific than I like Latinas. You got to kind of map out in your head the type of woman you like, and then you have to match it to that country. Same thing with Asian women. Do I look red? Hang on, I got to turn off my redness. I forgot to do this for this live stream. Hang on. I just realized I look red. I turn off all my blue light, and it's nighttime here in Dubai. So hang on. There we go. Okay, now that's too bright. Why didn't I do this? Forgot. Hang on a second. Okay. That's better. I look more normal now. Less like an alien. Same thing with Asian women. You can't say I like Asian girls or I don't like Asian girls. Women in the Philippines look absolutely nothing like women in Japan. Nothing. There's no comparison, but they're both Asian. So you got to be a little more specific and strategic about the type of woman you like. Now, if you're very flexible about the type of woman you're attracted to, there are some men like, I like all kinds of women. I don't care. Great. You have less to worry about. If you're a little more picky, and most men are, myself included, you need to do a little research and find out, make sure the type of women you like are there. And ideally, make sure that the dating market is not super difficult. All right. Politics. This would be the politics of the current country you're leaving and the politics of where you are going. So one of the many reasons I left the collapsing USA, I'm a minarchist libertarian and everybody hates me. Modern day right-wingers hate me. They love it when Trump spends trillions of dollars, even pre-COVID. They think it's great and I'm throwing up. And then left-wingers, of course, love people spending more money and trillions of dollars. I said, I don't belong here. I got to get the fuck out of here to a country. So I moved from the United States where government to GDP ratio was like, what is it, 114%? You guys are insane. Now here in Dubai, it's like 28%. In Paraguay, it's like 20%. Much better for me politically. So I'm much more politically aligned in places like Dubai and Paraguay for me. Now, you may not care about politics. If you don't care about politics, great. Do whatever you want. If politics is a thing for you, then some of you guys are really into gun laws. Hey, Caleb, I can't move to a country unless I respect gun laws. Great. Move to Paraguay. Best gun laws in all Latin America. It's a very right-wing country. Great. Don't come to Dubai. You can't have a gun here. You know, like one of those air guns. That's it. If gun laws are important to you. So you get the fact of these two. How important are your political opinions? Now, if you're doing full-on 5 flags like I am, this is much less important because the politics, you're not affected by the politics of any one country. I am total 5 flags. So it doesn't matter what politics I experience in Dubai, Paraguay, or anywhere else I leave, because no country controls me anymore. No one country has any control over me, unlike those who live in the United States, UK, Australia, Canada, where the entire country runs your life. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. So just be aware of it. How important is that to you? It may or may not be. Protection from the collapsing West, the coming collapse of the Western world, which will occur in your lifetime, and the possible AI takeover, which if it happens, it may not. I have a whole book coming out about that in about a month. If that happens, a country that is AI resistant and or collapse resistant. I just published an article at the Unchained CEO blog, calebjones.com/blog, I think last week or the week before, 2 weeks ago, on you can assign a rating system to any country on how reliant they are on the West. So when, not if, when America goes under, Canada, Western Europe, when these countries go under, how badly or not will your new country be affected? Paraguay will not be affected, as an example, my example. Paraguay will not be affected at all. I said this 10,000 times. America could collapse tomorrow morning. People in Paraguay would not even notice it happened. They'd hear about it in the news, and they would go on with their lives. They wouldn't even notice a difference. A lot of morons say, well, if America collapses, the whole world collapses. Factually incorrect. Do more research, please. Now, in Dubai, it's a little different. If America collapsed tomorrow morning, would Dubai have some problems? Yes, it would have some problems. Would Dubai collapse? No. It'd be okay. There'd be some problems, 2 or 3 years of some adjustment, and then long-term, they might actually do better without America for a number of reasons. Too complex to get in this live stream. But how exposed is your new flag to the collapse of the Western world? If you care about that. If you say, I don't think the Western world's ever going to collapse, it'll be fine. Well, then great. Move anywhere you want. Move to Israel. I'm sure Israel will do just fine when America collapses. All right. And AI. Caleb, if AI takes over the United States, it'll take over it? No, it won't. How is AI going to take over Bolivia? Explain that. Go ahead. Explain, please. Are there lots of Boston Dynamics robots and 5G towers in Bolivia? No. So even if AI someday, way down the road, takes over the entire planet, Bolivia will be one of the last places on Earth. So you're much more AI. I'm much more AI resistant to an AI takeover in Paraguay than you are living in the United States. Okay. Now, with all that background, here's the evaluation process you make for your new flag, living flag. Are you going to stay there more than 181 days per year? Now, the reason for that is that usually means you will be a tax resident of that country if you're going to stay there more than 6 months a year. Less than 6 months, usually they don't care. Not always. Every country is different. More than 6 months, often they'll give a shit. So that's the first question you ask is, am I going to live there and really make that my tax base? Like I live in Dubai 7 months a year minimum. This is my home. And I do this for tax reasons to prove the United States. I live here in Dubai. I don't live in the US. Give me my foreign earned income exclusion, please. I can prove I live here. And one of the proof is I'm here more than 6 months a year. If you're there less than 6 months a year, much less important because you can kind of, have a little more freedom. Unless it's a territorial tax country like Paraguay, then it doesn't matter. What are the residency requirements of that country? So now if you plan on living there most of the year or all year, the residency requirements are less important because it's easier to get residency in a country where you live. Like you can move to Argentina and live there for several years and then get residency. They will and they will require Uruguay similar. They will require you to live there to get residency for a while. Great. So you have to worry about this. Now, if you're like, I'm only going to be there 3 months a year, but I want residency, then you need a place where the residency is easy. Dubai, Armenia, Mexico, Paraguay, that don't require you to live there. And those are the four we do here is UAE, Mexico, Armenia, Paraguay. There's a few others. But again, it's relying on, are you going to be there more or less than 6 months a year? What are the Revisa requirements for your passport if you don't want full residency or if you do? So, for example, here's an easy example. You want to get residency or a citizenship in Armenia, but you're from Azerbaijan. You're going to have a problem. If your passport is some of the more rougher nations in Africa, we've run into some of those people for our residency services, you might have a problem, or you might have to do some extra paperwork because a lot of countries don't want people from Africa. We could have a discussion about that if you want. So be aware. Now, if you're from a Western country, most of you are, you're probably going to be fine because everybody likes Western money. In most cases, not always. There's this new thing now where people who buy their passports from the Caribbean, the UK is now not honoring them because the UK are assholes. So you have that scenario. So just be aware of your current passport if that's a factor. Like I said, if you're most Western countries, you probably won't have a problem. Will they tax my worldwide income and under what conditions? Most Western countries, so this applies to those of you Americans, Australians, Canadians who for some fucking reason want to move to Europe. If you move to Europe, most European countries are going to tax your worldwide income at very high tax rates. So what change did you fucking make? What the hell? Why did you bother moving to fucking from the United States to France to get raped in France instead of raped in the US? Now, there are many countries that will tax your worldwide income only if you stay there more than 6 months. Colombia and Mexico are both like that. If you stay under 6 months, they don't care. More than 6 months, then technically speaking, you owe them a percentage of your worldwide income. Now, we can have all kinds of interesting conversations about, well, how do they know? And you can handle that the way you want your personal finances. That's your decision. I'm just saying based on the law of these countries, they will expect this, maybe. Some countries are completely psychotic, like authoritarian Australia. Here's my story about Australia. I've told this story before. Many, 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 many years ago, when I was looking at, I was planning on moving out of the collapsing USA since 2012. So that was a long time ago. Many years of research, looked at a lot of different countries. I looked at possibly moving to Australia. Oh, I was so stupid. And so I went to Australia, spent a lot of time there. I've hit all the big cities there. I've been to Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. I've been all over the place multiple times. Gold Coast. It's a great place to visit. Don't live there. And here's the problem I had. I talked to tax attorneys. And I said, all right, I'm going to live here. I forgot what I said. 3 months a year for 4 months a year or something. Basically, in a nutshell, to summarize this, the Australian government was going to tax my worldwide fucking income at 45%, even though I was just going to be there 2 or 3 months a year. Now, they weren't going to tax me for the entire year, just the months I was there. I said, are you insane if I'm only here 2 months a year? They said, yeah, we will. They said they could. It's kind of a gray area. They could. If they see that you fly into the same city and leave from the same city 2 months, you do every year, tax is like, yeah, there's precedent where they will send you a tax bill for your entire worldwide income, 45%. Okay, I said, fuck you, Australia. So be aware of what their laws are, even if you have to pay a tax attorney $100 or $200 to kind of figure this out. Will they tax your worldwide income and under what conditions? Now, in my world, you would only move to one of 3 countries. And again, I have a book coming out, hopefully before Christmas. If not, it'll be January. I'll go more detail about this. Here are the 3 tax categories of countries you want to move to. 1, countries that have no taxes, like Monaco and Andorra. Andorra, I think, is a tax now. Several, like Qatar, Bahrain. There are several Middle Eastern countries that have literally no taxes. Great. Move there. Category number 2, countries that have microscopic taxes, maybe. Like Dubai, maybe you'll pay a 9% corporate tax, maybe. Maybe you won't. So microscopic little baby taxes. What's another one? My friend of mine just moved to Bulgaria. They have taxes, microscopic. Great, do that. Category 3, territorial tax countries like Paraguay, where they only tax money you make in the country. So if you have an Alpha 2.0 business online that comes from outside the country, it is not taxed. You can move to Paraguay. You can make $10 million a year from outside Paraguay. You'll pay 0 tax. So you want one of those 3. I would not even fuck with living more than 6 months a year in any country that tax worldwide income, with exceptions. Are there scenarios where you could live in Colombia or Mexico more than 6 months a year and it would make sense based on your other factors? Yes. So I'm generalizing. I love Colombia and I love Mexico for a lot of reasons. Ease of travel, if that's a relevant thing for you. So if you're going to be planted in your country 12 months a year and you're not going to travel very much, great, you can ignore this. If you're going to be traveling around, if you're going to go visit back home a lot, or you're going to be traveling to another flag a lot, or traveling all over a lot because you like traveling, you need to factor that in there. Dubai, one of the main reasons I moved to Dubai is it is probably, arguably, but probably the best travel hub in the world. We have nonstop flights to something like 350 cities around the planet. It's amazing. I can hit any city I want almost instantly. It's amazing here for travel. Paraguay is the exact opposite. Paraguay is a nightmare to travel to. Multiple stops. The airlines suck because it's South America. Big pain in the ass. Now, I kind of like it that way because I don't want a lot of people coming to Paraguay. It's like a hidden gem, and I want to keep it that way. But I use that as a trade-off. If I have to go up to the United States from Paraguay, I know I'm in for a nightmare from hell. That's the way it goes. So that you need to factor that in there too. What is the weather like? Is the weather what I like most of the year? I already mentioned that. If you have the wherewithal, the interest, and or the finances to do what I am doing, and you have multiple homes. So Andrew Henderson has his trifecta thing where he has 3 homes. I have 2. I think 3 is too many, but he's younger than me. Okay. I have 2. I have one in Dubai and one in Paraguay. Then you can match it where you have year-round perfect weather. I have year-round perfect weather. The weather now in Dubai in mid-November is amazing. I'm so happy. I was smiling all day yesterday. I was outside. Oh, it's so great. I love sun when it's not hot. So as soon as it starts getting hot in Dubai, boop, boop, I pop right over to Paraguay, and now it's sunny and cool there during their, quote, winter, which is summer in Dubai. It's perfect. Then when it starts getting really hot in Paraguay, all my friends in Paraguay are now bitching and moaning about how hot it is there. I come back to Dubai, so I have year-round perfect weather. Something I've wanted for 25 years, living in fucking Portland, Oregon most of my life. So if that's important. Otherwise, if you're going to plant yourself in one place, are you cool? Are you okay with the seasons where it's maybe too hot for you or maybe too cold for you? Cold too. Some people hate the cold. Some people love the heat and hate the cold. And, you know, they have a horrible winter and it snows for 3 months and drives people crazy. I don't love snow when it comes to me. This is my opinion. I love snow. I'm going to try to go to Austria for Christmas this year because I want snow for Christmas. So I like to go visit the snow and then leave the snow and come back to the sun. I don't like when the snow comes to me and then no one can drive anywhere. It drives me crazy. Didn't happen a lot in Portland, but it happened. How welcoming are they to foreigners? So there are 5 levels of how countries treat foreigners. This is also my new book, but I'll overview it really quick here. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Level 1 is countries that hate foreigners. They hate them. They were going to be overtly rude and assholes to foreigners. Example, France. So you probably don't want to move to level 1 countries. Level 2, countries that tolerate foreigners. They don't really like you, but they're more or less polite. They put up with your dumb ass, but they don't really like you. And you will get occasional problems. Example of that, Japan, and perhaps even Thailand. They're not going to be mean to you and overtly racist, although sometimes they will be, but you can feel it. They're like, oh, that fucking idiot. Ugh. Okay. Level 3 are countries that are neutral. Indifferent is a better term. Indifferent to foreigners. They don't care if you're a foreigner or not. They're not going to treat you any better or worse. They don't care. They're not going to treat you better. They're not going to treat you worse. They're going to treat you just like anyone else. Example, that would be most major cities in the United States. In the U.S., outside of parts, if you exclude like the deep south, if you exclude that, most cities, U.S., if you're in a foreigner, you'll be fine. They're going to treat you like any other American, any other shithead American. Yeah, it doesn't matter to them. Level 4 are countries that like foreigners. They like you. When they realize that you're a foreigner, like, oh, cool. And people react positively. They smile. They ask you questions. They treat you very nicely, sometimes nicer than their natives. Example, that would be Paraguay. They love foreigners down there. They think they're great. They think gringos are wonderful down there. They don't really call them gringos. But anyway, category 5, these countries are very rare, but they exist. Countries that love foreigners. They worship foreigners. So when they see foreigners, it's like you're a rock star. And they smile and they come up to you and they wave and they talk to you and they think you're a god. Example, that would be Fiji. And by the way, some people say, well, that's because they're trying to sell you something, Caleb. No. That's Hawaii. These are people who have no financial interest in being nice to you. And they love you. Go to Fiji someday. Everyone should visit Fiji once. Tony Robbins is right. These people live in dirt and they are the happiest people on earth and they love you. You'll just drive by and they'll run out of their homes and wave and smile as you drive by. They just think you're fan-fucking-tastic. Not very many countries like that, but they're out there. So where does that country rank on that 5-level scale? I would not move to anywhere in level 1. Level 2, where they tolerate foreigners, I would only move there if you just love the country. If you just, for example, Japan, if you just worship Japanese culture and just think it's amazing and you love Japan, then it might be enough to tolerate some racism there, which, by the way, I've experienced racism, anti-white racism in Asia, like many of you have. There's an old joke from Russell Peters, and he's right. He said that the world, let's see, what was the joke? American white people are the least racist people in the world. But the entire world has convinced them that they're the most racist, which is true. You travel around the world, you realize how racist people are. Shit. So you need to pay attention to that. How do they treat foreigners? And the more extroverted you are, the more important that aspect becomes, how well they treat foreigners. If you're an introvert shut-in, then maybe Japan would be fine because you never talk to anybody. Okay, more evaluations. How safe is the country? All these people saying, oh, it's scary and there's cartels and I'll get killed and I'll get sick. I'm a big pussy. All right. There are 3 factors you need to consider in terms of the safety of the country. First one is crime rates. I have entire videos at my Unchained CEO YouTube channel about how the crime rates in most Western cities are now on par with the worst cities in Africa. Great job, guys. So crime rates, how much crime is there? Now, when you're looking at crime rates, it's very important to ignore the crime rates of the country You don't move to a country. You move to a city. So you ignore the crime rates for the country and you focus on the city where you're going to live. You would never say, what are the crime rates in China? You know how many cities China has? China has over 120 cities that have more than 1 million people in them. So saying the crime rate of China is meaningless. It's the city. Now, on top of that, if it's a large city, millions and millions of people, now you need to look at the crime rates of the neighborhood where you will possibly be staying. One of my favorite cities in the world is Guadalajara, Mexico. Now, if you say Mexico to Americans, they go, oh, crime. Okay, wait a minute. Doesn't matter if the crime rate is in Mexico. You don't live in Mexico. You live in a city in Mexico. Guadalajara. Is there crime in Guadalajara? Yes. There's crime. There's certain areas of Guadalajara that are not good. Guadalajara has 5 million people. It is a gigantic city spread over a wide area. So there are entire regions of Guadalajara that are very safe. You would never have a problem there. Unless you drive 45 minutes to the bad part of town. Why would you do that? And as I keep saying to people, you would never move to a place that had a knowingly high crime rate area. So you research the crime rates of the city. And if it's a big city, the region where you be living, not the entire city. You're not going to live. Do you live in New York City? No. You live in Lower Manhattan or whatever, right? My example, I live in Dubai. Dubai statistically has a 0% crime rate. We don't have crime here. I live in Asuncion, Paraguay. That is one of the lowest crime rate cities in the entire Latin world. It is safer than most Western cities in the collapsing United States. So there you go. Next one, civil unrest. Is this the kind of country like the United States, Canada, UK, France, that has regular civil unrest on a regular basis where people riot and burn down buildings and smash police cars and get pissed off? Is that a common thing? Brazil, is that a common thing in the country? If it is, probably wouldn't live there. That's why I don't know why you guys still live in the US. I don't get it. So you research that. Civil unrest, which is different than crime. Civil unrest is a different problem than crime. Sometimes it's linked, but it's different. Likelihood of war. This is the adjacent enemy rule. I have an entire video on my YouTube channel about this. I will summarize this. When you're looking at a living flag or a place to spend a decent amount of time, you need to pull up Google Maps, look at it on a map, look at all the adjacent bordering countries, and you need to evaluate all those countries. The question you ask yourself is, do any of those countries hate my new country? Yes or no? And the second question you ask is, do any of these bordering countries, are any of them warlike? Do they invade other countries a lot? If the answer is no and no, you have passed the adjacent enemy rule test and you're good. The answer is yes, it fails the adjacent enemy rule. You probably shouldn't move there. Probably shouldn't move to Israel. Right? Right. Okay. You probably shouldn't move to Ukraine. I said that before Putin invaded. I have said many times, I've been saying this for 10 years. You cannot move to any country that borders Russia. And I get a lot of questions. Caleb, what do you think about Estonia? What do you think about Georgia? What do you think about? I wouldn't move there because they border Putin. Putin likes to invade countries whenever he wants, and no one stops him. He already invaded Georgia. He's invading Ukraine, and he's not done. So you cannot, I'm not saying nowhere in Eastern Europe. There are countries in Eastern Europe that don't border Russia, as an example. Okay. I would not live in South Korea. Sorry. You have a neighbor that hates you. It has 10 million missiles pointed at your head. No, thank you. I'll visit South Korea. I'm not going to. I can't live there, no matter how cool it is. Right? So you cover those three things: crime rates, civil unrest, adjacent enemy rule. Now, one thing about the adjacent enemy rule. The adjacent enemy rule means there's an adjacent enemy. It doesn't mean there's an enemy somewhere else, somewhere in the region. Every country on earth, just about, has an enemy somewhere in the region. The region is okay. So when I moved to Dubai, I had a bunch of morons who said, what about Iran? So I did an entire video on why Iran is no threat to Dubai. We don't border Iran. It's across the water. If they had ships, we would bomb the fuck out of them. If they flew missiles over here, we have a better missile shield than Israel. And why would Iran shoot missiles at Dubai? There's no reason. If they flew planes over here, Dubai, UAE's Air Force is 10 times better than Iran's. Iran's an old rotting Air Force of the 1960s. There's no threat to it. So it's in the region, but it's not an adjacent enemy, so I don't care. Because you can always look anywhere in the region. Well, what about that country? 3 countries over, across the water. Stop being a pussy. No. Is the infrastructure okay with you? I mentioned this earlier. Sometimes I do videos of Paraguay. Some people go, that looks amazing. And some people go, ew, gross. Okay, if you're touchy about infrastructure, you need to move to a country with better infrastructure, which means it's going to be more expensive. Dubai is the best infrastructure in the world, better than the U.S. But it's not super cheap, but it is cheaper than some U.S. cities. So how important is infrastructure to you? Not very important to me, because I live in Paraguay, so it's not that important. Now, what you can do, here's something else about infrastructure. I've mentioned this before. If you go to a low infrastructure country, lower on the economic scale, you, as a Westerner with Western money, you're going to live in the nicest part of not just the city, the country. So I live in the nicest part of not Asuncion, but of Paraguay. So the region right around my apartment is pretty nice. I got a really fancy mall. Crime is super low. I'm in a brand new building with electronic keyless entry and all that stuff. Fiber optic internet. It's amazing. Now, is that typical of people who live in Paraguay? No, but it's typical of you as a Westerner going to a place that's 1/8 the cost. So just be aware of that. Things like fitness, gyms, lifestyle stuff in terms of infrastructure. How important is that to you? So I have a gym that's literally can't talk. In Dubai, my gym is about a 10-minute walk because I don't want to drive to the gym every day. I think it's stupid. In Paraguay, it's in the same building. I literally walk around, go outside, walk around same building, same block. It's around the other side of the block. I'm there in 2 minutes. It's awesome. It's a pretty shitty gym. Reminds me of the old Arnold Schwarzenegger gyms of the 70s. Pretty shitty. It's Paraguay, but it works. And I'm flexible, so I don't care. Other subset of infrastructure is healthcare, doctors, getting prescriptions. If you need prescription meds, if you're a diabetic, if you're on TRT like I am, if you've got chronic health conditions, I don't, but my wife does. You need to figure all that out in terms of how to get access to doctors. Can they ship you the meds? Sometimes they can't. Can you get medical assistance remotely? The quality of the hospitals and doctors there, you got to figure all that out. Now, most of you, that's not a factor, but some of you it is. Instead of going, oh, I've got to stay in America because I have this problem. No, you big pussy. You figure it out. The healthcare here in Dubai is far better than the United States. I told my story about what happened when I got COVID here. It was amazing. I was in the hospital this year in Paraguay. Great. No problems. And they fucking fixed me. I was sick for a long time. They fucking fixed me right up. And it cost me like $50. Awesome. Real estate. That means where you live and if you want to invest. If you want. Got to factor that in. If you're single, what kind of women are there and how easy the dating market? I already talked about that. Okay. I'm going to wrap this up with my picks, my favorites. This is my opinion, but I try to give a lot of mix of countries based on different parameters and things. This is a place, a starting point for your research. Then I'll answer your questions. Okay. These are my personal favorite countries in terms of ease of moving to, lifestyle, and all that stuff. Everything combined. This is a biased list of Caleb's opinion. You might hate all these countries, but I have a feeling you'll probably like at least one of them. Okay. So obviously, United Arab Emirates, Dubai, and Paraguay are my top 2 because those are my flags. I love them a lot, and I've talked a lot about other videos. I don't need to go to details. You can do it in the Q&A. Armenia is almost perfect, except it doesn't match the adjacent enemy rule because of Azerbaijan. But you can still use it as a flag in terms of like a residency flag, backup flag, things like that. Mexico, love Mexico to death. Mexico has gotten much better in the past 6-7 years. They've really upped their game. They're going to continue to up their game. Mexico is awesome. It's not perfect. It will suffer when America collapses, so it gives a demerit for that one. But other than that, it's really good. Uruguay, fucking fantastic. One of the best places in South America. Panama, not as my favorite as it used to be, but still very good. It is a good flag. It's a nightmare to get residency. Absolute fucking nightmare, and the government there is insane. But in terms of lifestyle, it's a cool place. Panama City is awesome. Belize, I've never been there, but I have a lot of buddies, a lot of friends. I've never heard anyone move to Belize and not like it. Bali, people fucking love Bali. It's in Indonesia. It's a free zone in Indonesia. Another place where I've never heard a negative word about Bali, other than it's a little too touristy. If you're the real rustic type, you might not like the touristy aspect. Other than that, Bali's great. Montenegro, I don't believe you should live anywhere in Europe. That's my opinion. But if you absolutely can't stand it and have to stay in fucking Europe because you're that inflexible, Montenegro, probably the least bad country in Europe. It's Eastern Europe. Here's some other ones. Colombia, fantastic. Economically growing, booming country, amazing women, amazing weather, so many pluses. They do tax worldwide income after 6 months. Be careful of that. That's one downside. Thailand, not my type of country, but a lot of people like Thailand. My son spends half the year there. He loves it. Vietnam, one of the fastest growing countries economically in the world by far. Vietnam is kicking so much ass economically. Philippines, super cheap, nicest people in the world. It's a level 5 country. They love you. The women will love you if you're a guy. Best beaches in the world, better than Hawaii, and they're like 1/10 the price. Okay. It's a little lower on the economic scale. Okay. The government's a little corrupt. It's not perfect, but it's very good. Slovakia, another one, not as much as Montenegro, but still pretty good. A lot of people really like it. Hong Kong was my favorite city / country in the world for many years. Since 2009, it's gone down a tick, but it's still amazing. Hong Kong is a magical place. I'm finally going back to Hong Kong in February. I can't wait. I've been gone for because of the pandemic. I've been gone for so long because I didn't get the jab. Ecuador, awesome. Another place where people really like it. A little sleepy like Paraguay. Singapore, a little expensive, little humid. Expensive and humid. Other than that, one of the most well-run countries in the history of the world. Up there with Dubai. And better quality of air quality than Dubai. So it beats Dubai in air quality. Doesn't beat Dubai in other places, but it does in air quality. Portugal, I do not think you should live in Portugal. That's Western Europe. I think you're making a big mistake. But to be fair and I'm objective and rational, a lot of people in my audience like Portugal. And you get a 10-year tax holiday in Portugal. It's cheap. Okay. That's it. All right. Let's get to your questions here. Hang on. All right. We take a drink of water. Answer your question. Second. Oh, one quick thing. I'm not going to show you a slide for this. We are doing an early Black Friday thing. Earlier this year, I sold every one of my courses, all my mini courses, all my books, this little bundle, $15,000 for a few $100. We're doing that again starting tomorrow for about 6 days. And if you get it, so it's at www.caleb.top/ oh, shit, I don't know. Hang on. I should know this. Hang on a moment. It's not available yet. www.caleb.top/massive. Yeah. Okay. Massive discount mastery bundle. Every course, every mini course, every book I have ever done. It's about $15,000 worth of courses, mini courses, and books. You get it for a few $100, but it's only available for a 6-day period, and then we shut it off. Starts tomorrow at 8 a.m. EST. www.caleb.top/massive. Also, when you get this, if you get this, and if you already bought it back in February, once you get it, you're going to get an email from me with some videos about something you're going to get that you can only get if you buy this thing. You'll see what I'm talking about tomorrow. Matter of fact, some of you have seen it sooner than that. People already bought this. Please do not tell anyone else what this thing is. Don't tell anybody. Just, could you do me a favor and just not tell anybody this? Keep this a secret. You're going to get something that it's pretty big. It's a big deal, but we're only offering it to people who have already bought other things of mine. We're not announcing it to the audience. There's a reason we're not. You'll find out. It'll make sense tomorrow when you get the email. Those who already bought the bundle a few months ago, or if you buy the bundle in the next 6 days, starting tomorrow, Tuesday, 8 a.m. EST is when we open up that button. You can go to the website now and read all the courses you can get and get all the information there, and then the buttons turn on tomorrow at 8 a.m. And you'll get something else, but I can't tell you what it is. You'll see. Just don't tell anybody. You'll fuck all this up. All right. www.caleb.top/massive. All right, let me answer your questions. Move out of my home within my country, Canada, then move out of the country, or move out of the country? Just move out of the country. Why would you move twice? What if you have 3 countries as a choice to move to? Well, I just answered that. Do you travel to these 3 countries for a year? Okay, so here's this works. Once you pick a country you think you like, you need to go there for a week. And when you go, at least a week. If you go there for a longer week, please do. At least a week, 7 days. You can't go there for 2 or 3 days a week and come right back. You don't know if you like that. 2 or 3 days doesn't tell you anything. A week. Well, I have a job and my boss. Then fucking figure it out, man. Take the time off and get that done. Figure it out. Be an adult. Fucking figure it out. Okay? A week. When you go, do not stay in a hotel. Stay in an Airbnb like a normal person who lives there, a normal house or a normal apartment. And then don't go out to eat every day like you're on vacation. Go to the grocery store and buy their food. And cook it yourself just like you live at home. And pretend as if you live there and see if you like it. And if you love it, that's your place. If you're like, then you pick the second place, do it again. 6 months later, or whenever you can do it again, a week somewhere else. You'll probably like the first 1 or 2 choices if you follow the advice I just gave you. Is Mexico still a good country for those with the past criminal record? Asking for a friend. Yes, they don't care about, Mexico doesn't care about criminal records. That's just Paraguay. Would having residency in another country to get someone out of the U.S. draft, statistically speaking, draft is definitely possible in the U.S. No, the only way getting you out of that is get old like me or renounce your citizenship. Do you write out your day in advance like Jim Rohn suggests? I do more than that. Those of you on the emergency service saw what I did. I map out the entire day in 15-minute segments the night before, every day. Yep. Would you recommend their methods outlining Think and Grow Rich as a blueprint for life? Yes, generally. Yes, generally, yes, generally. Some of his stuff is stupid, like using sex to make money. He doesn't tell you how it's stupid, but mostly, yes. Was Napoleon Hill legit or was he a fraud? Napoleon Hill did not practice what he preached. He died penniless. People don't know this. Napoleon Hill died poor. Andrew Carnegie had to bail him out. So he is legitimate, but he didn't do what he practiced. A lot of authors don't. That's why I don't like the 50 Laws of Power, Robert Greene. I don't like that book because most of his examples are fictional. What? No. How do you stay outcome independent even if you have no money, bills to pay, going into your first client meeting, and if you don't get the sale, the family suffers? Well, you can't want it that bad. That's not going to, you won't make the sale. If you're that needy for the sale, you won't make it. You got to relax. How do you become outcome? You won't be outcome independent in those scenarios unless you have a lot of practice being outcome independent like me. Meditation, relax, get plenty of sleep, drink plenty of water, stay away from negative people. That's the best you could do. You're in a temporary scenario, not a lifetime scenario. Do you practice self-reflection? Yes. Do you write down when you do it? How does it help you in life? I do thinking time sporadically. I try to do every week, but usually I don't. I review every quarter because to me a quarter is a year. So I do those 2 things. It helps me a lot. I want to know if I'm on the wrong path or if I'm making errors. Thoughts on the Philippines? Fantastic flag. Love it. Caleb, aren't there some individuals for whom Western countries are actually a better fit? What types of people would they be? How would I know if I don't fall in that category? Yes, there are some people. If you are hyper inflexible, You have a number of traits. Number one, you're super inflexible. You have to have Taco Bell and Target, and everyone has to speak English with no accent. You're one of those people, okay? You're just super inflexible, and you're terrified. You're scared. Well, if I go to Mexico, a cartel will kill me. And you're just terrified. You're a big pussy. So if you're a big pussy and you're super inflexible, stay in the West and go down with the ship. Now, that's still stupid. You're staying in a collapsing country. It's going to collapse in your lifetime. So why would you want to stay there even if you like it? You buy a new Ferrari. It's your favorite car and you love Ferraris. You love this Ferrari. You know for a fact the Ferrari is going to explode while it's in motion, while you're driving it at some point in the next several years. Would you say, well, I'm going to keep the Ferrari anyway because I love this Ferrari, dude? No, you'd be like, well, I'm getting rid of this Ferrari. It sucks, but I can't. I want to die. I'm struggling to find my mission, my vision, let alone my mission. Well, your mission's only important if you're over 30. Vision is easy. I know that not having them clearly defined has cost me dearly. What should I do? Vision is easy. I don't know why you're struggling with your vision. What do you want? Write down what you want. Is that hard? Vision is easy. Mission is hard. Vision's easy. Write down what you want. I don't know what I want. What? Well, then you have a problem. You're weird. Thoughts on Texas? It gets more left-wing every year. Don't live in Texas. Bad idea. Leave the country. Single, 40, no kids. I want to move out of the Western world and focus on scaling my wealth. Oh, I know. Okay. Some obstacles I have are a dog, selling real estate, and a finance truck. Navigating efficiency to DOSA. What's that? Odosa? What's DOSA? I don't know. What's your question, Chad? Move out of the Western world and focus on scaling my wealth. Oh, I see. What kind of country do you want? Some obstacles I have are a dog. Okay, a dog. That's a lifestyle factor. My wife had a dog. We moved that dog back and forth to Dubai and the United States several times. It was fine. You could transport a dog. That's not a big deal. Everyone in Paraguay, Latin America, they love dogs. Dubai, they love dogs. Dogs, everyone loves dogs. Dogs not a problem. Some breeds are not. Some countries don't like certain breeds. So it depends on breed it is. Selling real estate, that's an issue. Get it sold. Get it sold. Yeah. Finance truck, sell the truck and pay off the loan. That's not a big deal. Why do you say medicine is the only thing going to college for? No, not medicine, being a doctor. You can study medicine and not be a doctor. Isn't that employment too? No, you'd be an Alpha 2.0 doctor. You wouldn't be an employee doctor. That'd be stupid. If I'm a sales executive, being a contractor sales hired gun where I'm not a W-2 employee but run sales for multiple orgs in a specific niche, is that Alpha 2.0? If I'm a sales executive, being a contractor, if you can do 100% of the sales and service your clients without physically having to be in that city, yes. You have to physically be there? No. What do you think of the Japanese honor code of Bushido and how applicable is it to your life? It is mostly applicable. Some of it is not. That's a very complex answer. I can't answer a quick question like this. A lot of it is, a lot of it isn't. What countries do you think are the best for outdoor activities? Depends on what. Like camping, hiking, fishing, beach. Depends. Depends. That's a very broad question. Did you choose to be in Paraguay half the year to balance out the hustle in Dubai? That was one of the reasons. That was not the only reason. I chose Paraguay for about 5 different reasons. And that was one of them, yes. So you don't pick a place to live for one reason. That's stupid. You want 5, 6, 7 reasons. I picked Paraguay for about 5 reasons. I picked Dubai for about 7 reasons. There's a video I did when I first moved to Dubai called The 10 Reasons I Moved to Dubai. 10 reasons. So, but that one of them, yeah. What do you think are the best countries with cold weather? Here's the problem with countries with cold weather. They're the hardest ones to move to. Scandinavia, they're very strict about moving there if you're a Westerner. If you're from Africa, of course, they let you right in. Of course, right? It's tough there. Russia, too. It's tough. Try to move to Russia. It's doable, but it's hard. My daughter has faced this right now. She wants to move somewhere cold, but she wants to move somewhere cheap where residency is easy. And so the only place I came up for her was, Alyssa, you could move to the southern tip of Argentina. There's 2 or 3 towns down there. You could live down there where it's cold and it's Argentina. So you could move there now. It's cheap, relatively cheap. They'll give you residency. The only place. So if you want cheap, easy residency and it's cold, but it's not a city, it's rural, southern Argentina. What do you think of the best places to raise kids? There's any of the low crime, high infrastructure regions. Dubai, there are people moving to Paraguay now raising kids. Low crime, decent infrastructure. That's for kids. That's it. And homeschool your kids, please. Do not put your kids in a school. The international schools are better. They are better. They're better. Okay. But still, I wouldn't. If I had a kid now, homeschooled. What about visa hopping forever? You will hate that when you're older. Visa hopping is fine for people under 35. Over 35, you're going to hate it. You got to get residency. What country do you recommend to move with a newborn? Plan to have more children regarding safety, healthcare, cost of living. You just kind of said that. Safe, good healthcare, cost of living. So Dubai, Panama City, Monaco, Singapore, the ones that are a little more expensive. Although Panama City's cheap. What about Panama for girls and living? It's fine for those two things. I'm Italian. You can have permanent residence for $12K. Okay. Yeah. Panama's for girls and living is good. Panama's decent. Yeah. I've heard islands suck to live on outside of a resort. Would you agree? I don't know the answer to that. I've thought about that. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe logistically it's a pain in the ass. Logistically. If you want a very simple, smooth life, then you probably shouldn't live on an island. Live on a beach, which would be better. Paraguay, 4 months a year, and in the Canary Islands now. 21 years old. Love it. That's cool. Awesome, dude. That's great. That sounds great to me. Great. What do you think of Istanbul as a living flag? I'm 50, divorced, no kids, similar personality to you. Yeah. Now, Istanbul is one of those places that you love it or you hate it. So the question I'd have for you is, have you been there? Go, and if you haven't, go spend a week there. You need to spend more than a week there. Istanbul is very distinctive. You will love it. Similar to Dubai, but even more distinctive than Dubai. You will love Istanbul or you will fucking hate it. So you need to go there. And I would spend more than a week there. If you can spend a month there or 2 or 3 weeks there, go for it. Yeah, I like it, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of people do. It's a very exciting city. It's a very unique city. There's no city on earth like Istanbul. It's one of a kind. 0% crime rate in Dubai sounds like a great niche business opportunity. Oh, I see. To commit crimes? Sure. You don't want to commit a crime in Dubai. They don't fuck around here. What do you think of Bhutan? There was a 60-minute segment on it last night. Looks like it'd be a good place to live. I have done no research on Bhutan. I couldn't answer that question. Don't know. Do you have any plans to create content that's literally about how to broadly learn things? No, that is not my area of expertise. How to filter valuable data, how to iterate. No. On business, yeah, but not that. No, that's not my area of expertise. I went to get my test checked. That's really a question for another channel. Ask me the testosterone stuff on the other channel. No Morocco or Malaysia. Malaysia, yes, I would add Malaysia to that list. Morocco, no, because a lot of people wouldn't like Morocco. I think Morocco is pretty cool, but a lot of people wouldn't like Morocco. Malaysia, yeah. Malaysia, I'm all over that, yeah. Humid and hot, though. That's where Andrew Henderson wanted me to move. When we had a long talk about this years ago. I'm like, dude, it's hot. He's like, yeah, it's hot. I'm like, well, that sucks. And it's humid. Like, yeah, it's humid. So his priorities was other things other than humidity. He could handle it. And his wife is Armenian Russian. So I'm like, your wife's Russian? She moved to fucking... He's like, yeah, she puts up with it. I'm like, okay, great. My next destination is probably Romania. Okay. Don't want to move to the American hemisphere. Okay. Cheap place. UAE would be top choice, but right now I'm worried about dating ease their options. You don't want to move to the American hemisphere. Is it why? Because of travel? Because you have like a lot of people in Europe? Europe is the last choice option in my world. Romania is in Europe. So in my world, Europe is off, including Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe is still in Europe, folks. Europe is off the table. And I look at the entire rest of the world, And if I absolutely can't fucking find a place I love or like a lot, then maybe I'll look back to Europe. What a lot of you are doing is going right to Europe because Andrew Tate. Okay. There are lots of hot girls not in Europe. Trust me. Woo. So I don't hate Romania. Romania's okay. It's fine. It's in Europe. That's the problem. Europe's collapsing faster than the United States. That's saying something. The Republicans now control all of Congress and the presidency. You're going to see government spending on steroids over the next years that you've never seen in your life, which is the number one reason America is collapsing. Trump is going to accelerate it faster than I thought because I wasn't aware that the Republicans would win the House, the Senate, and they have. Holy shit. And Europe is worse than that. Is Panama residency course still updated for 2025? It is not. There's 4 countries. That's the only one that is not relevant. The other 3 are still relevant, which is Mexico, Paraguay, and Dubai. Those are still accurate. Panama is not. They keep changing. Panama changes their residency laws every month. It's a nightmare. What is the easiest and simplest way to set up international backup plan, especially if you're still building your alpha business? Well, my advice is always, you only have 2 areas of improvement at once. So if you're starting an alpha business, that's 1 area of improvement. If you're trying to lose weight, that's 2. If you're trying to get good at dating girls, that's 3. You set up international backup plan, that's 4. 2 of them you need to put on pause. So if you're going to start your business and then set up your international backup plan and no other improvement areas right now, you can do it right now. If not, you should schedule it for later. Not much later, though. This gets harder every year. Trump has already stated before he got into office that once he's elected, he side with Israel and start beef with Iran. He ain't saving shit. Correct. Look at the people he picked for his cabinet. Big government, empire building neocons. Like he's basically repeating the Dick Cheney, George Bush, Obama empire. Other than Tulsi. Tulsi's the only good one. All the rest are nightmares. He didn't learn a goddamn thing, which is exactly what I said a few weeks ago, that neither side will learn a fucking thing. They're just going to keep repeating the same mistakes forever until America collapses. What do you think of the likelihood of an entire societal collapse, meaning worldwide, and if so, how long will it last? That cannot happen. Worldwide society, the world is too separate. This is not the United Nations utopia world. This is not Cybertron like Transformers. You will not have that. I mean, I've said a million times, like during this great reset stuff, no, all cars better be electric by 2030. And Columbia goes, fuck you. Yeah, so no, it would never happen. America could collapse tomorrow, along with Canada, along with Western Europe, and there are many countries that'll be just fine. Fourth category, where they don't tax specific kinds of income, even if they generally have a high PIT and CIT. Well, like, yes, but that gets a little advanced. So if you're retired, for example, and you're only doing capital gains and they don't tax capital gains, but they have a high income tax, but you don't make no income, it's all capital gain. Sure. You can kind of manipulate this stuff if you have a more advanced scenario. Sure. I am 18 years, going to drop out of college. Good. But I don't know what I'm going to do as far as making money. I'm in the States right now. Sit down and map out. Well, first you need to make money. So go get a job temporarily while you start your Alpha 2.0 business on the side. You don't want to be a bum and rely on mommy and daddy. So you drop out of college, go get a job, a bullshit job. You're only going to have it for a year or two. And start your Alpha 2.0 business on the side on evenings and weekends, which is exactly what I did when I was your age. When I was your age, I had a bullshit job during the day, a computer job where I learned on the job instead of going to college. And at nights and weekends, I was building my little consultancy business. And then within a few years, I quit. I went full-time in my business. That's what you want to do. and don't worry about your parents when they scream at you that you'll be a loser because you dropped out of college. Because that's they told me. Just tell your mom to fuck off. Retired USAF, cool. Income $78,000 a year. Is that from your 40 years thing? Married 17 years, no children, black man with white female. Okay. Would Paraguay be kind interracial retired couple? Yeah, for the most part. They don't give much of a shit about black people down there. A little bit. You're going to get a little bit, but there are not very many black people. I've seen 2. So you'll be like interesting to them. Yes, you'll be okay. Will you be perfect? No, but you'll be okay. No one's going to give a shit that you're a white man married to a black woman. No one's going to care about that. So in Paraguay, there's two races. There is the white Paraguayans, and there's like the dark-skinned Mexican looking. They don't look Mexican, but they have dark skin like Mexicans. Mestizo. There's a word for the white ones and the brown ones, and I forget what the term is. They keep telling me I always forget. So it's already an interracial country already. So no, you'll be fine. What do you think of the chances of getting drafted as a military age male in Europe? 2% rule or higher, currently estimating higher. Depends on the country. You can't say Europe. Depends on the country. Do you know if Panama cares about criminal record for 15 plus years ago? No, but you have to do the same thing as you do in Paraguay. You have to submit the court document saying that the criminal record was satisfied or the criminal thing was completed, satisfied, whatever, and then they don't care. There have been people who committed murder who got residency in Panama, but they had a thing saying he served his time and all that crap. Thoughts on being closer to Europe for business reasons, flights for visiting customers versus having lower cost living in Asia? Thoughts? Complicated question. I can't answer that in a quick Q&A like this. I would have to have known much more detail on your scenario, how much money you're making. If you're making a lot of money by being closer to Europe, maybe. If you're not making a lot, fuck Europe and go to Asia. That's my general answer, but I don't know. How do we get in contact with Interpol? Well, they have a website, interpol.org or whatever, something like that. I'm working on a residency that needs proof of no criminal record and cannot find any way to contact them via internet. Search the searches. You can email Billy at bosscooperative.com. Ask her. She might charge you a fee. She can do it. She gets you Interpol. Billy. B-I-L-L-I-E. Billy, not B-I-L-L-Y. She's a female. B-I-L-L-I-E at bosscooperative.com. Ask her. She might be able to help you. Matter of fact, I think she will. I think she can. What would you have done if you were drafted at about 20 years old? Too general a question. I need to know where I would be put. Would they do an assessment test on me? And because I have a higher IQ, they put me behind a desk? I'd be all right. Then I'd set my watch for 4 years to get the fuck out of there, I guess. If they're putting me on the front lines, I'm not fighting the front lines for some country, for some government that hates me. No, I'm out of there. Fuck that. I've always thought about that. If I fought in World War I or World War II, I was drafted, I wouldn't get my head shot off for some a-hole government. Fuck that. I'm a libertarian. I'd go AWOL, and I'd go spend the rest of my life in Romania or something. In the 40s, not now. What are your thoughts on an entire world? Okay, I already answered that. What do you do when you catch yourself having limited belief or a negative thought based on that limiting belief? Can't you say cancel, 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 cancel? You close your eyes, say cancel, cancel. Literally works. Try it. Cancel, cancel, and then replace it with some other thought. Either a positive thought or a happy thought or some really hot girl's ass, something like that. Replace, cancel, cancel, replace. And you need to start meditating if you're not meditating. Important. You think 20 grand is enough to move to Thailand and sustain myself for a year? That's more than enough. No booze, no pay for... Dude, that's more than enough. Yes, you're good. Just buckle down near your 9 inches. But bro, go right now. That's plenty. Especially if you stay out of Bangkok. Stay out of Bangkok. Bangkok's not super cheap anymore. You go to the outlying areas, which is cheap as fuck. Bro, go right now. Hell yeah. What's the difference between studying to become a doctor and studying to become an engineer or other STEM fields? Because as a doctor, you're guaranteed to make a 6-figure income. Guaranteed right now. Huge. You are not guaranteed that as an engineer. You're not even close. How much is your cost for service for residents in Armenia? I think Bailey is in charge of those things now. I think we cancel Armenia. I think we cancel it. Although I would ask Billy, B-I-L-L-E at bosscooperative.com. I'm pretty sure we canceled because none of people signed up. What about studying to become a surgeon? I said that already. If you want to be a doctor and you want to be a doctor for literally the rest of your life and you're 100% sure, then go ahead and go to college. Other than that, no college, you're a moron. I assume not all specialties would be compatible with Alpha Male 2.0. I don't know doctoring well enough to answer that question. If you can be a location independent, not location dependent, but an Alpha 2.0 and location dependent surgeon, probably not. Nebuchadnezzar, you're asking a lot of dumb questions about being a doctor. No more questions about being a doctor. Be a doctor or don't. What about Yemen? Well, you'll have a bomb drop on your head. If you don't like bombs. I want to use a physical journal. That reminds me of the Naked Gun back in the 80s when Beirut was exploding left and right. And he takes a vacation to Beirut. I just want to have a relaxing vacation in Beirut. I mean, come on, man. So let's all go have a relaxing vacation in Yemen right now. Have a Houthi bomb drop on our head. I want to use a physical journal for E3D planning, goal setting, or self-reflection affirmations. That's fine. Can I do all that in one notebook? Sure. A big one? Sure. What do I need to consider to get the most out of it? Follow my directions. That's it. It's fine. Would like to buy residency started in Paraguay. Do you have any programs underway to get that started anywhere or to refer? Yes. www.caleb.top/go and click Paraguay. And we'll sign you right up. You can get started right now. www.caleb.top/go. Joe Brown, you've asked the same question 3 times in a row. Please don't do that. I've already answered it. On the internet, in learning content question, do you have any recommendations for books or people? That is way too general a question. Do you have any recommendations for anyone in the world? I currently have crutches for my learning. It would be crippled without my current sources. We narrow that question down on what? Business, fiction, what? Best country is USA. Cry about it. Okay. Show me your facts and data that show that's the best country today in 2024. You don't have any. Would you like to get my residency? Okay. I already asked that question. Is Canada collapsing faster or slower than the US? It depends on the year. It bounces up and down. Your banks are better than Canada in the United States, but your culture is much worse and your government's more insane. So it kind of is, maybe it's a wash. It doesn't matter for Canada because as soon as America collapses, Canada goes down the very next day. So it doesn't really matter if it's faster or sooner. Canada will collapse when America collapses. Canada is America's little dog. Now, we love dogs. I love little dogs. But that's America's little dog, little puppy. Who's it? Rush Limbaugh said America has 2 little dogs, Canada and the UK. There's our little dogs, America's little dogs, which is kind of true, unfortunately. What school curriculum would you have your kids go through while getting homeschooled? Any resources that you can recommend? No, I don't have any small children. I can't recommend any resources because I haven't raised kids in over 20 years. My kids are adults. Would you teach them business education-wise for success as adults? That's a very big question. Here's my overall opinion. School before 6th grade should consist of reading, writing, basic mathematics, basic American order country they're in, history, basic world history, critical thinking, and nothing else. Nothing else. Just those things. You drill that shit into their heads. Then when they hit 5th, 6th grade, you branch out to other topics based on what their interests are. That's what I would do. Morena, I don't know what that means. Any thoughts on crypto for 2025? It will go up. Heard nothing but good things for next year in terms of investments for altcoins. And altcoins, I'm out of that world. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, and I stay in my lane in terms of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to do very, very well. As I've been saying for years, and I've been right for many years on that. When people said, Bitcoin sucks now. No, it's not. Wait, I said. I've been saying that since 2017, and I was right. Sports industry will keep the U.S. from collapsing. How? College and pro sports. Best basketball players generally have to play U.S. teams. Like, is that a joke? I can't tell if you're making a joke. What are some Alpha 2.0 businesses? Are they just businesses that fit in the location independent criteria? No, you got to read my book, The Unchained Man, unchainedman.io. or alphamalebook.com. Buy that book. It's only $20. I go through the detail. There's about 9 parameters of Alpha 2.0 business. One is it's location dependent. Another one is no employees. You can have people. I have 22 people in one of my companies, but there's no employees. You can't be in highly regulated industries. It can't take more than 30 hours a week once it's set up. There's a number of parameters. Where can we meet you next year? Will there be a Dubai, London conference? Billy and I are figuring that out now. Dubai, yes, but the reason I don't do a lot of Dubai stuff anymore is nobody wants to fly to Dubai. They want to fly on when they want to come to Dubai. If I say, hey, we're going to come to Dubai in November, people go, oh, Dubai, can you do it in January? Can you do it in February? Can you do it? So I don't do a lot of Dubai stuff. London, I don't know. Don't know. Maybe. I would like to be back in the UK next year. I am going to be in Italy for a month next year for a certain reason, Five Flags reason. So I don't know yet. Coming soon. How can we learn more about B2B sales within your business? And Billy, founder Sanctum with Jan. B2B sales. I don't understand the question. Retired USF, is $78,000 a year income enough to live comfortably in both Paraguay and Dubai? Paraguay, you will be a king in Paraguay. You will live like a god in Paraguay. Dubai, is it enough? Are you the same guy who has the white wife but no kids? Yeah, you could live on $78,000 a year in Dubai. There's a video I have on how to live cheaply in Dubai. Yes, you could. You're not going to live in, where the part of town I live in. You're going to live in like Sharjah or Dera, some of the cheaper parts of Dubai. But yes, you can. You bet. Easiest residency in Asia. There's a few of them. Most residencies in Asia require cash in the bank. Easiest residency in Asia. Philippines is one of the easier ones. I don't know if it's easiest. Philippines? I don't remember. It's a good question. I don't remember. I purchased several books from you in the past and do not have any emails in the last 2 weeks that disclose the secret package gift. What? I didn't say you get a secret package. I'm talking about the bundle you buy tomorrow, not things you already bought. Or if you bought the bundle. We haven't sent that email out yet. It's not any books. They do say U.S. sports has been losing viewership. I don't know why you're talking about sports. You're crazy. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe you're a bot. Dwight Kidd Hoops. Okay, I'm going to have to ban a bot here. Hang on. That was a bot. Okay, let's see. All right, a few more questions. I got to go. Trying to keep these well under 2 hours. Where did this go here? This is my first time catching you live. I've recently discovered you and enjoy your perspectives. Cool. Love it. Where in your business can I learn more about B2B sales? I bought the massive bundle already, but still need help. Mainly you could hire me for one-on-one coaching. I think I have 1 slot left. I mean, I don't have much other services other than Business Builder. I've been narrowing down my services. You can go check out Billy's website. She has more stuff. Founder Sanctum. So that's at bosscooperative.com. And if you purchase the bundle already, you'll get an email in the next 2-3 days. And just don't tell anybody what you see in that email. It's some videos. Don't tell anybody. It's a secret. Thoughts on day trading? I have no problem with it. It is Alpha 2.0, but you better be very, very, very good at it. You better be very, 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 very good and sit on that and stare at that computer screen for 8 hours a day. If you want to do that, great. When do you get an ebook drafted on Upwork? When you get an ebook drafted on Upwork, when do you edit subsequent drafts yourself, use the same person who edited it, or use someone else? Are you talking about proofreading? I don't use an editor. I use a proofreaders. I proofread it, but I don't have an editor. I do my own editing because I'm a professional writer. So what I do is I have it proofread. I do 3 or 4 drafts, get the final draft, and then it goes to proofreader. And I don't proof it after that. It's done. When the proofreader is done, I double check the proofreader's work, and then I'm done. It's done. It's ready to print. Not ready to print. Then you send it to the typesetter. I am on my final draft of my new book right now. I'm halfway through the final draft. I want to get it done. I want to get it published ideally before Christmas. If not, it'll be January. Got a jet, Caleb. You're one of a kind, brother. Thanks for all the advice, being honest, all your business travel wisdom. Pumped to start your 9-day business builder once I'm in Thailand. Cool. How could you tell that message was a bot? The name had a bunch of numbers in it. Thanks for the answers. You're very welcome. I'm getting better at day trading, part of my vision. Cool. Where can I find a list of all your books? Store.calebjones.com. CALEB. Store.calebjones.com. If you want all my books and all my courses and everything for like just a few $100, literally everything, www. You got to put www in the domain, in the name. Sorry, you have to type www.caleb.top/massive. If you go right this second and you're live, you got to wait till Tuesday, November. What is the date tomorrow? I don't look at dates. November 19th. Can't read with my glasses. Tomorrow, Tuesday, 8 a.m. EST. You've got exactly 6 days. 6 days or 7? 6 to get the bundle, and you get something else, and you get something else. We can't talk about it. Okay. All right. Have fun, guys. I'll see you on Wednesday if you're interested in my Alpha Male 2.0 dating stuff on Wednesday. And then next week, no live streams after that because I'm traveling to collapsing USA to visit my family for Thanksgiving, which I'm not looking forward to, but there we go. Cool, guys. All right. Have a good one. Bye.